You know, in any business, there's always one number that can just cut right through all the noise and tell you how healthy your operation really is. Today, we're talking about that number. We're going to unlock the power of uptime. Let's dive in.
So let me ask you this, and it's a question that probably keeps a lot of managers up at night. You've got that one critical piece of equipment, the one you invested a ton of money in. It could be a massive manufacturing line, a server that absolutely has to stay online, or heck, even the espresso machine that keeps your entire team running. But how much is it actually working versus just, sitting there?
And that simple question, is it actually working? It uncovers this hidden problem that we call silent inefficiency. Yeah, this is all the productivity that just quietly slips right through the cracks when nobody's really looking or measuring.
And let's be really clear about this. Every single moment an asset is offline or idle or just waiting around, it's costing you. It's not just sitting there, it's actively costing you money. That's lost opportunity, it's wasted potential. And really, the only way to stop the bleeding is to first measure exactly where it's coming from.
Which brings us to the solution. And it's a beautifully simple one. It's a single, elegant metric that cuts through all that complexity and gives you one clear answer: uptime.
So what is it exactly? Well, the definition is refreshingly simple. Uptime isn't just the time a machine is turned on. Nope, it's the amount of time it is actively producing something or providing a service. It's the actual value-creating, money-making time. Let's go back to that espresso machine for a second, because it's the perfect example. Its uptime isn't the 8 hours the cafe is open. No way. It's only the minutes and seconds that machine is literally pulling shots and serving customers. All that other time when it's just sitting there, warming up or waiting for an order, well, we've got a name for that, and it is not uptime.
So when you get right down to it, measuring uptime is all about giving ourselves an essential reality check. It really does two things for us. First, it gives us an honest, no-fluff look at how much an asset is really contributing. And second, it lets us compare that actual runtime to its planned potential. It's all about that gap between what is and what could be.
Okay, so this all sounds great, but how do we actually get this number? Well, it all comes down to a surprisingly simple equation.
And here it is. Now, on the surface, it looks pretty straightforward, right? Uptime is just the total time you have minus the time you weren't running. But the real magic, the real insight, comes from understanding exactly what we're subtracting. So let's break down each piece of this.
We're going to start with the absolute maximum potential, the pie-in-the-sky number. We call this total available time. If you could somehow run 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, you'd have a staggering 8,760 hours to work with. This is our perfect theoretical ceiling.
All right, so from that perfect total, the first thing we have to subtract is downtime. This is any period where the asset is physically incapable of running. This could be planned maintenance, sure, or a software update, but it also includes all the bad stuff like unexpected breakdowns or a power outage. The key word to remember here is incapable.
Next, we subtract a totally different kind of lost time, idle time. Now, in this case, the machine is perfectly fine. It's capable of working, but it's just sitting there waiting. Why? Well, maybe there are no customer orders, or you're missing a key material, or an operator isn't available. It could run, but it isn't. See the difference?
And this right here, this slide is so important because this distinction is the most common point of confusion. It spells it out perfectly. Downtime means the machine can't run. Idle time means the machine could run but isn't, and that's a huge difference. One is a maintenance problem, the other is a workflow or a demand problem. Totally different things to solve.
Okay, so you've done the math. You have your uptime percentage. Now what? Is 80% good? Is 90% a disaster? To really understand your score, you've got to compare it to something. You need a benchmark.
So let's take a look. As you can see here, the best-in-class operations, they aim incredibly high. For what we call continuous processing, think of a power plant that has to run 24/7. The target is a staggering 98% uptime. For batch processing, like a factory making different kinds of products one after the other, a world-class goal is still a super high 95%.
But I have to throw in a word of caution here, because context is absolutely everything. These are just targets. I mean, a 95% uptime could be amazing for one company and a total disaster for another. And really importantly, this basic uptime calculation doesn't account for times when a site might be intentionally slowed down, say because market demand is low.
So let's pull back for a second and connect all the dots. We've defined uptime, we've calculated it, we've even set some benchmarks. But what's the big picture here? Why does this one little number matter so much?
When you boil it all down, uptime is so much more than just another metric on some dashboard. It's a vital sign. Think of it like the heartbeat of your operation. It gives you a clear, honest reflection of your operational health, telling you whether your most expensive assets are actually creating value or if they're just costing you money.
And that leaves us with one final thought. For you, this idea isn't just for big factories. Think about the critical assets in your own work, in your own life. Is it your laptop? Is it your focused creative time? Maybe it's your team's collaboration software. How would you measure its true uptime? And what do you think that number would actually reveal?